Welcome back to the Marty and Party podcast. I'm here with special guest Dow Dow. Thoughts on the Titans game?
Well, my first thought is that AJ Brown is a really good receiver. He looks like a number one. I mean, I thought this when he was coming out of Ole Miss. I thought he was better than DK. DK's doing pretty well now.
Yeah, two really good receivers there.
Yeah, but they did nothing, right? But yeah, the Tannehill AJ Brown connection, I love.
And how do you think they handled the Steelers defense?
I think the first half obviously was rough, right? So they couldn't get much going on the ground or through the air. And, that was a big narrative, coming into the game. They're the first, teammates, Tannehill and Henry are to have a 350-yard passing game and 200-yard rushing. I mean, to expect them to do that again is just crazy. But, yeah, I thought they could have came out stronger. They finished the game really well. They showed heart, and I think that's, more of a team taking on the personality of its coach. Vrabel's a tough guy, battle hardened, battle tested. So I like that. I just wish they did it for, full 60 minutes.
And Party, a lot of blame was put on Stephen Goskowski for his missed field goal. I, for one, don't think that you really can blame him too much. It's not a give me field goal at that length. And, in the NFL, nothing's a gimme. What do you think?
Well, a lot of people refuse to acknowledge that a kick is not solely on the kicker. The long snapper has to snap it perfect every time. The holder has to hold it perfect every time. And then even then, it's not a 100% chance to go in. Now, I looked at the replay. Brett Kern may or may not have moved that ball slightly to the right. You don't know if that's what Goskowski wanted, but every time he's missed, it's been leaning to the right most of the time. So I think something's got to be done in practice. Goskowski, he's won Super Bowls with New England. He is a good kicker. He's better than any other kicker that's been in Tennessee the last few years.
And I think what I liked the most was I was expecting after they lost this game a lot of people to write the Titans off. You look at a lot of power rankings still, and the Titans are sitting at the 6 or 7 mark on most things. Do you think that's a fair ranking for the Titans right now?
Yeah, I do. They're ranked usually right between the Ravens and the Bills. I think they're better than the Bills right now as far as quarterback and balanced offense, but they've definitely shown themselves to be in the upper echelon of the league.
And Party, where do you think we are with them?
I agree. They're definitely better than the Bills. I'd put them over the Ravens as well. They have a quarterback who could throw the ball for over 200 yards a game with efficiency, unlike the quarterback in Baltimore. But the teams ahead of them I'll have are the Packers, the Chiefs, the Bucks look really good, and the Steelers because they just lost to the Steelers.
It's tough to rank someone ahead of someone that you just beat. And if you're new to our podcast, you're probably going to hear a lot of Lamar Jackson slander. So I'm sure if you're just listening to this the first time, you're going to get used to it. All right, so on to our next topic. A lot of stuff. We are based in New Jersey over here, so we hear a lot of New York media. And a lot of media here is right now is in love with the idea of the New York Jets finishing 0-16, which I don't think they're going to do, and selecting Trevor Lawrence with their first overall pick. I'll share my thoughts, and I'm going to pass it along to the boys. I think it's first of all, if the Jets were to finish with the first overall pick, it would be a massive mistake if Sam Darnold is still on the roster by the end of the season to go ahead and draft another quarterback. You saw, especially if you're a Titans fan, tighten up everybody. If you're a Titans fan, you'll see how hard it is for an incoming quarterback to play when the offensive line is so poor. Sam Darnold coming out of college, I was very sold on, I will admit, and I still believe that he has a very high ceiling above. And I really do think it would be a bad decision if the Jets went out and drafted Trevor Lawrence. I think that the team wouldn't improve at all, and they'd be facing another last place finish for the next 2 or 3 years, and then probably saying, oh, we need to go draft another quarterback. I'm going to throw it on to the boys now and see what they think.
Yeah, I mean, The Jets are a mess. You said you don't think they'll finish 0-16. I definitely disagree. They have not been competitive in any game except for one half against the Bills. And then they followed that up with 4 yards in the second half because the defense switched to man. Coaching, first and foremost, has to change for the Jets. I don't care who you bring in. No one's getting better under Adam Gase. All right, so coming to Sam Darnold, love the guy. I loved him coming out of college. Still love him now. I don't think he can do anything back here with this line, with his lack of weapons. But there's nothing to show that Trevor Lawrence could be better. I mean, if you look at their tape side by side, Sam Darnold was doing a lot of the same things Trevor Lawrence was. And one thing against Trevor, I still think he's a great talent and all, but he's also playing with multiple first-round players. Sam Darnold's best year was when he was playing with Juju Smith-Schuster. Wasn't even a first-rounder, second-rounder. Sam Darnold did not, I believe, on that USC team, didn't have another first-rounder on his team. So if he looked as good as Trevor Lawrence, I don't understand why you're just willing to throw him away and start again.
Yeah, one more thought on the Sam Darnold as a prospect. I know we get to see him now every Sunday in the NFL. But one thing that I remember seeing a lot out of him in college was that his arm strength was just through the roof. I remember seeing him not have to step into some of these throws. I forgot what overtime game that USC went into his junior year. And this throws that he was making in overtime were incredible. And to just pass up on him and say, hey, he's in our locker room now, but we're going to go for the next shiny new object, which is basically a carbon copy of what he was as a prospect with a little bit better legs, I think really is not going to improve anything if you don't protect him.
Yeah, I love Sam Darnold, and if I'm the Jets, I would try to trade this number 1 overall pick,
Absolutely. Let's just be clear. Sam Darnold's 23 years old. Trevor Lawrence is 21. 2 years of NFL experience, I'll take 100% every time. Now, if you're looking at the draft, there are at least 3 teams in the top 10 that could possibly trade for Trevor Lawrence. Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 1-6. Gardner Minshew clearly is not the guy we thought he was. I think Atlanta could also trade for a quarterback. The team flat out stinks. They can't hold the lead. Matt Ryan has a noodle arm. I'm done with him. Throw him in the trash. And then everyone's favorite, Washington football team, decided to give up on Dwayne Haskins after a year and a half, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous. And then now they have Alex Smith, whose leg is assembled, his calf is assembled from his thigh, and Kyle Allen, who has never looked good in the NFL. All 3 of those teams can easily trade up for Trevor Lawrence, and the Jets could draft the highest tackle on the board, which is Penei Sewell out of the University of Oregon.
And you got to remember, too, that the Jets would still hold the Seattle Seahawks first-round pick, where they could give Sam Darnold maybe even a guard or a super talented wide receiver. You're going to see a couple in the draft there with that.
Talent. They just...
Offensive talent, yeah. I think. For maybe Arthur Smith. Who knows?
Please, God, no. But no, the Jets are not one player away. They just need players. They need talent at every position across the board. I mean, look at a team like the Cowboys who have so much talent, and they are seriously underachieving.
Yeah, I mean, that team literally didn't stick up for Andy Dalton after he was decapitated by John Boston.
30.
Well, where does that come from? I mean, I think every single team, I've seen backup quarterbacks get bowled over, and I've seen players go out and nearly murder the players. I mean, you remember the reaction when Mason Rudolph got almost decapitated by Myles Garrett last year. I mean, that's a third-string quarterback who was playing horrible, and even his team stood up for him. And now you see Andy Dalton, a seasoned veteran, who's right now taking you, supposedly the rest of the way down the stretch of the season with the injury of Dak. And, his offensive lineman just stared there. So you even see Amari Cooper just put his hands on his head.
So earlier we were talking about, right, like teams taking on the personality of their coach. And
he's horrible.
I think that's exactly what's happening here. He doesn't care, man. He was talking about how he took a year off. He was in the lab in Wisconsin, getting ready for the season. What are they? 1-6, 2-4.
Yeah, did he happen to watch any defensive tape when he was unemployed for a year?
Apparently not. I mean, that offense is pathetic. They literally relied on Dak to throw for 450 yards a game to just have the defense blow it.
I mean, how can a guy who has Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott, he walks away with one Super Bowl in his career? It's almost criminal. He should be in jail. And then you see this week, he gets a quarterback, and I don't know what you guys think about Andy Dalton. I think he's a fine quarterback. Decapitated. I mean, absolutely murdered on the field. And his players just stood there.
He has the balls to call out his own players after the game. He's like, yeah, I don't know why no one did anything. Maybe because you are not a leader of men, Mr. McCarthy.
Yeah, I think it was absolutely horrible. I'm going to pass it along. Maybe we get any more thoughts on that.
Aaron Rodgers is laughing in his own lab in Wisconsin. He's hated McCarthy since pretty much the day he got there. Watching him fail, I guarantee you, is better for Aaron Rodgers than him winning his football games.
So we think that Dallas might pull the trigger year one on a seasoned veteran coach, quote unquote, with Mike McCarthy. You think he's going to be out of a job?
I wouldn't put it past Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones will do anything.
They have to win the division.
He did sit a long time with Jason Garrett. A lot of years of failure over there with Jason Garrett, with Tony Romo, and then they pass it on to Dak.
Jerry Jones, you're his guy. You're his guy until you're not. That could be today. That could be tomorrow. That could be in 4 years. But I'm telling you, if they don't win this division and make the playoffs, he's out of there.
And surprising that Adam Gase hasn't been fired yet. I know we were talking about the Jets before, but you saw Bill O'Brien get fired, and we've seen the coach in Atlanta over there get fired. And somehow Adam Gase and Mike McCarthy are just hanging around. 2 wins between the both of them. And both by McCarthy, and both against teams that had 0 wins at the time. So
don't worry, this will be the second week in a row Adam Gase is not calling the offensive plays.
So as we usually do, though, we like to give you some best bets of the week. We really right now we're on the NFL, so we look at the stats, we do everything that normal degenerate gamblers do, and we try and give you a couple wins. So we came up with our 3 consensus picks this week. I'll throw it over to the boys to read them off to you.
All right. Besides what we just said, absolutely love the Cowboys this week.
I did. Yeah, we do. We do love, because you know who they're going against. One of the only worst teams in the NFL, in our opinion, with the Philadelphia Eagles.
This is a classic trap game for the Eagles. They win against bad teams. And then this team that they're supposed to demolish, 8.5-point favorites against the Dallas Cowboys. Whether it's Andy Dalton or DiNucci out of James Madison,
JMU,
either of them, they are going to stomp the Philly Eagles. If you want to be safe, take the 8.5. Hammer plus 330 money line.
Yeah, I like that bet. I mean, we did come up with consensus picks, so I know I should like that bet. The best part about this whole game is, I think, in my own opinion right now, you're seeing the best quarterback. With all these QB injuries, the best quarterback's going to be on the sidelines with Jalen Hurts. I mean, you haven't seen Carson Wentz show you anything besides playing against the Giants defense, which I don't think you can give anyone credit for.
What are his weapons outside of Travis Fulgham?
I mean, not much. You got Ward, but
you got Ward,
Dallas Goedert.
Miles Sanders.
Ertz and Goddard are out. So is Sanders. Everyone's hurt.
This game.
And this is why you hammer the Cowboys.
Yeah, we do like the Cowboys a lot.
More talented team.
One of the things when you go betting, you like to see a better team usually have a plus next to them. That's usually a time that you're just going to hammer a bet. And we're going through the money lines here. And to see the 6-0 Pittsburgh Steelers coming off of a win against the Tennessee Titans, who were undefeated, they roll over Cleveland Browns. They made everyone think for a week that the Cleveland Browns stunk, right? For a whole week, we were all like, trade Baker Mayfield, all this stuff. And then when you look at the lines, all of a sudden, you're seeing the Baltimore Ravens come in and are actually a 3.5-point favorite against the Steelers. So we're going to go out and really pick the Pittsburgh Steelers on that game. I think that's probably the easiest bet I've seen all year.
I agree. I mean, that defense that's a good defense, man. I think they're going to confuse Lamar, who has been much worse this year, especially passing the ball. And, this is a team that sees him twice a year. They're very familiar with him.
And just look at Lamar Jackson's stats against good coach teams. Like, throw away the games when he plays against the Browns. Throw away the games when he plays against the Bengals. Throw away the games when he's playing against teams that barely can tie their own shoes. And when you start seeing him play teams like the Chiefs, where he didn't even put up 100 yards passing, he's really struggled. And teams have really bottled him up. You saw the Titans bottle him up in the playoffs. And really, when he starts to have to make things happen with more than just his feet, it's a disaster. So I think we're very confident with that game. I think that's a lock. If somehow the Steelers lose that game and you lose $100, whatever you bet, you go to sleep at night knowing that you still did the right thing. And sometimes
you bet on the better team.
You bet on the better team, and you got points.
Yeah.
I mean, I would even take the plus 170 there, but in the spirit of the way we picked these games, plus 170 wasn't enough of a underdog for us. And the last game, we like to take an under-over. We do love picking over, so we look at games that, the teams are going to score more points, and we don't like saying under because unders are boring. So we picked a game. I think it's the lowest line of the week, and that's with Buffalo versus New England. I think that it's at 42.5 right now, which is a very low scoring margin. I can't remember a lot of NFL games that being at 42.5 when you're talking about.
I love the over here, man. The defenses are both struggling. Despite what the Bills did to the Jets last week, that defense is not very good. And you best believe that Bill Belichick's going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, Josh McDaniels has a game plan. He'll figure something out against. You can't have this many bad games in a row if you're in New England and keep your job. So, Josh Allen's definitely looked progressed this year. The offense looks much better. Whether or not John Brown plays, I don't believe is going to matter. They're going to be able to throw all over the field. Stephon Diggs is going to be hammering all the catches. Stephon Gilmore's checked out. He sold his house. He's gone.
Yeah, and what about this? Interceptions. How many interceptions has both of those quarterbacks thrown? You're going to be seeing short fields that whole game. 3 weeks ago, not even a month ago, we were talking about Josh Allen as MVP. Not even a month ago, we were talking about Cam Newton comeback player of the year. These guys have a lot of talent. They have the capability to put up points. And the final thing with the stats, really, is that if you add both the teams' points that they scored each game, that's over 42.5. And if you add how much points each team has given up each game on average, that's also above 42.5. It's an extremely low line because people like to rag on what did they do last week and not look at their full body of work. And I think that that's really the easiest over of the week. Obviously there's a lot of ways it can go bad. you can have Buffalo. You can have Buffalo start the way that they started last week.
What are the odds if we parlay all these together, my guy?
I think we did check that before. Pat would probably know.
It is plus 1,500 whether you want to bet $10 to win 150, or if you're ballsy like me and is also a degenerate, you'll bet 100 for $1,500. It's a lock, so I'm making a free $1,500 this weekend. I hope you all do too.
And you know what? You can always pad those numbers. You can always take a couple easy college money lines. Maybe even sprinkle a Rutgers money line in there if you want to buy a new house. But
Greg Schiano is going to make Rutgers number one.
Yeah, for our Tennessee listeners over there, you could have had them, and right now it looks like a big mistake. But anyway, thank you for listening. We look forward to talking to you guys next week. And have a great week and enjoy a week of football.